Imagine this. Din, Boba, and the rest of the group have come face to face with Moff Gideon. Darksaber in hand, he goes to land a deadly last strike on the heavily wounded and battle-damaged Din. He raises his arm above his head, ready to deliver the final blow. As he goes in to swing, the unthinkable happens. Boba has jumped in the way. He knocks back Gideon, taking the strike to his chest, turns, staggers, and painfully utters one last line. Do what we came here to do. Get the child and go. I'll hold him off. With Boba Fett's astonishing return in the latest Mandalorian episode, I feel it's only right that we talk about what is approaching a little too quickly. Season finale. And what that brings. My main theory is this. Boba Fett runs a very high chance of meeting his end. This time, once and for all. With the episode of Boba Fett's return leaving us all wanting more, I couldn't help but fight off this feeling that was in the back of my head. With this being season 2 and the episodes growing steadily darker, it could lead to the bad guys emerging victorious. Now, keep in mind that this is a theory, so please take this with a grain of salt. Now that Gideon has successfully taken Grogu, Din will inevitably chase after him with Boba at his side. At the end of the last episode, Boba said his deal with Mando had not yet been complete. He had his armor, but the child was not safe, that he would remain in his debt until that was seen through. We know in the next episode that it will be spent freeing Migs Mayfield, or Bill Burr's character, Imperial sharpshooter that was originally taken to prison back in season 1. What I'm thinking more than likely is going to happen is that the child is going to be taken back to a lab on some sort of planet that we've never seen before, and that this is where the next episode will end, with the season finale gearing us up for one last epic battle as they go to save him. As the final battle approaches, Din will gather everyone that he can to go after Gideon and the child. I believe that this will include Bo-Katan, the Night Owls, Migs, Boba, Fennec, and possibly even Kara. I can really visualize this group of bounty hunters and warriors coming together to save Grogu. In the end, I don't feel that some of them will make it out alive. After fighting their way through what seems like an endless horde of stormtroopers, Boba and Din will come face to face with Gideon and his Dark Troopers. With his Beskar spear in hand, he will engage them off, as Boba goes to fight the Dark Troopers. I can see it now. As Mando lays there, his Beskar armor is cracked, parts of his face are showing, and as all hope seems lost, Gideon goes in for one last strike. But before he can land it, Boba takes the hit, quickly knocking Gideon back and telling Din to go save the child. Boba picks up the Beskar spear and rushes in, skillfully holding off the Darksaber wielding Imperial. Din will start to run away before he looks back to the door closing behind him. Boba is taking several shots and falling to his knee before he disappears from sight. Another really interesting detail that I want to go over has to do with his book that came out this week called The Art of the Mandalorian. It goes over a ton of things, including a lot of early sketches and concepts whenever the show was in its earliest production. And it really goes into detail on how the show was made and what Jon Favreau did to make this better. However, there's a specific sketch in the book that I really want to focus on that caught my eye. There's a sketch that has Baby Yoda sitting there, back whenever he was called that in the book anyways, where he has Boba's helmet on. Now, keep in mind, this is very much concept art, but it can't help but make you think. Maybe there was an original storyline, or this has been in the works since the conception of the show. Maybe Boba was even brought back for a reason. I think this reason will play a pivotal point in the story this far, and he may very well just become another member of the crew, or even betray Din as soon as the deal is complete. There's even a theory out there that he's going to become the next Mandalore. Well, I doubt it'll ever happen. It could happen, because honestly, with this show's unpredictable nature, at this point, anything is possible. As I was writing this, I couldn't help but sit there and think that Boba's death is pretty likely. While it may not happen as I picture in my head, or I've kind of painted the picture in this video, I strongly feel that it will happen. He's too important of a character in the Star Wars universe to continue his presence in the show. It will continue to overshadow Din and distracting from the main character. This is not the first time in Star Wars history that a character's been brought back and then given a better death to further the plot. I mean, take Darth Maul for an example. Destruction of the Razor Crest and the legendary Slave One now having no pilot at the helm, I honestly feel like Din will inherit the ship, carrying on what was Boba's legacy. And I know that there's going to be an emotional scene of him swearing to Finnick that he will get revenge on the men who took so much from them. On another quite interesting point, and while this may reach a little, this may also explain a question that many Star Wars fans have had for a few years now. How did Slave One end up at Maz's castle after all those years? There's no way to be sure if this is a canon detail or if this was just something that the creators of the game just put in to have our enjoyment, but in the map on Battlefront 2 you can clearly see it, hidden away under tarps and with scrap parts laying all around. Could Anakin's lightsaber still have been on board? I mean, with it being on the ship as Boba was at Cloud City, he could have somehow kept it as a trophy maybe? It's hard to tell and honestly even harder to prove, but only time will tell. An alternate theory is this. It's one where Boba doesn't actually die. Now, I know what the title says, but I find this possibility very interesting as well. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau didn't bring Boba back for simply fan service. I know there is so much more planned for him. They took him out of his famous armor as if it was to remind us of the face underneath and where it came from. It's a clone from Kamino, son of Jango. There's so much yet that we have to learn about Mandalorian culture and even their past, and maybe even his connection to the cloning may come back into play. I believe the reason for Boba's return will, in some shape or fashion, will link the main Star Wars history to the Mandalorian series, and to pass his legacy on to Mando. Maybe even as a mentor? But who knows? I could totally be wrong and off the mark on this one. Boba dying is just one of many possibilities that could happen as the season comes to a close. At the end of the day, I think this episode will bring all Star Wars fans joy, and it's something that we've been dreaming of. I know I'll be on the edge of my seat, hungry for more. I can't wait for the end of Season 2, and I know Season 3 will be even better. Hope you have an amazing day, and see you next week.